In session 39 here, we're going to address graphing linear equations, which is what we've done before, but going to take it maybe just one step further in actually coming up with a method that's oftentimes very helpful in graphing equations, linear equations. First of all, I have an equation down here, 2x plus 4y equals 12. And what the method that I want to make use of is that I want to come up with a rewrite of this particular equation so that y is all by itself on the left-hand side. And then the x variable and any other constants will be over on the right-hand side. Once I get the formula or the equation into that format, then what I'd like to do is to go ahead and start plugging in some values for x and finding out what y is, and then writing those within a table. Then once those are in the table, we'll use the table to plot the points over here on the graph and then to make our line. Because once again, these are linear equations, and the root word for linear is line. So a linear equation would be an equation whose graph is a straight line. We want to get y by itself. So I got to subtract 2x from both sides. What that's going to leave me is 4y on the left. Then I'm going to have 12 minus 2x on the right. I need to divide both sides by 4. 4y divided by 4 is just y. And then over here on the right hand side, we're going to have 12 minus 2x over 4. So that's my equation now. I do have y by itself on the left hand side, and over on the right I have 12 minus 2x divided by 4. Now I'd like to go ahead and just make an ordered pair, make a little table out of this. We can have our x's here and our y's here. Here's our formula. Well, oftentimes it's helpful to choose one of the variables to be 0. So since we have x over here at the right, let's go ahead and make that a 0 and see what happens. If we make that a 0, minus 2, or 2 times 0 is 0. 12 minus 0 is 0, or excuse me, is 12. 12 divided by 4 is 3. So when x is 0, y is 3. What if I make x a 2? Let's go ahead now and plug that into our equation. 2 times minus 2 is minus 4. 12 plus a minus 4 is 8. 8 divided by 4 is 2. So when x is 2, y is 2. Let's go ahead and choose a value now for x equaling 4. Let's put that 4 in there. 4 times 2 is 8. 12 minus the 8 is 4, and 4 divided by 4 is 1. So when x is 4, y is 1. And we'll just do one more point. We'll do x equals 6. 6 times 2 is 12. 12 minus 12 is 0. 0 divided by 4 is 0. So when x is 6, y is 0. So there's our little table there. And if I wanted to, I could rewrite those as ordered pairs. I could go something like 0, comma 3, because remember, in your ordered pairs, the x comes first, 2, comma 2, and so on. But this table right here is enough for me to work with. So let's go over here and actually plot these points. This is our origin right here in the middle where the x and y axis meet. There's our x-axis, and there's our y. When x is 0, y is 3. So there's our first point. Our next point is x is 2, y is 2. So we come over here to x is 2, y is 2. That's our second point. Our third point is x is 1, y is 4, or excuse me, x is 4, y is 1. So that's our next point there. And our last one is x is 6, y is 0. So there, right there, are the 4 points that are on our graph. Now, there are many more than 4 points that are answers to these questions, or to this equation here. So I'm going to go ahead and just extend the line through those points and extend it beyond it to show you that this line actually does go on forever. And one way that we would indicate that would be to put arrows on both ends of the line to indicate that it is a line that does in fact go forever. So right here then would be the graph of the equation 2x plus 4y equals 12. And once again, the strategy was to rewrite that equation so that y is by itself on the left. All the other variable and constants are over here on the right. You then start plugging in some values for x and find out what the other values or the corresponding values for y are. Make that table and then plot the points. Now, you did not have to choose the exact same 4 ordered pairs that I did. You could have started off with x is 1 or x of 5. You'll just have a different corresponding value for y. However, each of those points will still be on this same line that I graphed over here. So in its very simplest form, in order to graph a line, you need to have 2 points. I went ahead and graphed 4 to make it a little bit more illustrative, but you only need 2 points to determine a line. So if you can find 2 points, 2 ordered pairs for this equation, you can then just take the line and connect those 2 points and extend it beyond the 2 points, and that then becomes the graph of that linear equation. Secondly, I just want to quickly go over what's called the standard form. Back on the previous screen, we got into a format of where y was all by itself on the left, and then the x variable and all the other constants were on the right. However, there is a standard form for a linear equation in 2 variables, and that standard form is ax plus by equals c. Well, now remember, your y and your x are the variables. They will vary. The values for those will vary depending on what we calculate or depending on what we try. However, within the equation itself, there are 3 components, the a, the b, and the c, that all remain constant within that equation. So let's take a look down here at our first equation. 2x plus 3y equals 10. Right now, I do have the x on the left, the x term. I also have the y term on the left, and then I have a single constant over here on the right of the equal sign, which corresponds to what we have up here. So in this equation here, which number represents our a value? And remember, a is the constant that's being multiplied by the x. Well, that's 2. So in this equation here, a equals 2. In this same equation, what does b equal? Well, b equals the constant that's being multiplied by the y. So 3 is what represents b here in this equation. And then lastly, we have 10 by itself on the right. 10 represents the constant c that's on the right-hand side of the equation in the standard form. Let's take a look at the second equation. Minus 7x minus 7y equals 11. In this equation here, what is our a value, our constant? Well, it's a negative 7. That's what's being multiplied by the x. What's the b value? Well, technically, this is not quite in standard form yet, because if we take a look up here, it says it has to be ax plus a by. And what we have here is an ax minus a by. So we can rewrite this equation. We're going to have minus 7x, and in this case, our a is a negative, so we're still okay. But how do I rewrite a subtraction problem as an addition problem? I change that subtraction sign to a plus sign. I keep what's left of it alone, so there's my minus 7x. I change the minus sign to a plus sign, and then I change this plus 7 to its opposite, which would be a minus 7. Y equals 11. Now, minus 7x minus 7y equals 11 has been rewritten as minus 7x plus a minus 7y equals 11. We now have this equation in standard form. Our a, once again, is our minus 7, and our b, what's being multiplied by the y? Minus 7 is being multiplied. And then our c is 11. In our last equation here, x minus y equals 7. Well, we do have the x's and the y's on the left, but we are missing an a and a b, and we have a minus sign, a subtraction sign instead of an addition sign. So how are we going to correct this? Well, first of all, you need to remember that any number times 1 is itself. So even though the number 1 is not being written before this x, if I were to stick a 1 before that and multiply it by the x, I'm getting the same result. So x is in fact the same thing as 1 times x. Now remember, I'm going to change this to an addition problem by adding the opposite of the number. So I'm going to change my subtraction to a plus for addition, and then I'm going to change my plus y to its opposite, which is minus y. And then I'm going to rewrite the 7 that's on the right-hand side of the equation. However, my minus y here does not have a b value before it. What is the value? Well, just as 1 times anything is itself, so it is minus 1 times something the opposite of it. So what we actually have written here is 1x plus a minus 1y equals 7. Minus y and minus 1y are the same thing because minus 1 times y is minus y. So now what we have is we have an a value, our a multiplied by the x. Our a value is positive 1. Our b value is negative 1. And our c value is 7. Over in our review, once again, the standard form of a linear equation in two variables is where that equation is written in this format of some constant a times the variable x plus another constant b times the variable y equaling a constant c. Or another way of saying it, ax plus by equals c. And lastly, to graph a linear equation, it's helpful to rewrite the equation with y by itself on the left and then plug in values and make a table out of those x and y values. Then you take the table and plot the points on the graph. That finishes up session 39 on graphing linear equations.